All right, y'all. So this is gonna be a little controversy video that's being taped on Saturday night, but I'm gonna be uploading this on Sunday uh, at like midnight or something like that. And as you can see by the title of the video, the Fiend does not need championships. When we go back, let's go back in time here for a minute. When you go back to last year, 2019, around SummerSlam, The Fiend has his debut match. He faces Finn Balor, and he completely squashes Finn Balor to the point where Finn Balor turns heel and goes back to NXT, rightfully so. But then you look at the Fiend's character, and the audience was shocked by the Fiend's presence, the entrance, just everything that they did with the Fiend on that night was absolutely perfect. And even though I didn't make videos a year ago, watching the Fiend's entrance, watching how he just completely squashed Finn Balor, I said, this is a very special character. Like an Undertaker type of character. I'm not saying he is the Undertaker. I'm not saying he's better than the Undertaker. But he had that sort of presence towards him. And, looking at The Fiend, in my opinion, like I felt like that the Fiend's character has always been about getting revenge on people who did him wrong. Because look who it is the Fiend targeted. He's targeted Finn Balor, who I just mentioned, Rollins, who I'm about to get to, Rollins, Bryan, the Miz a little bit. Well, that wasn't really the Fiend. That was the Firefly Funhouse version. John Cena, John Cena, and Braun Strowman. And if you look at pretty much all the guys that the Fiend has faced, they've all changed. Rollins, like I said, Balor turned heel. Rollins turned heel. Bryan, changed his haircut, went back to, what he was before back in the day. The Miz turned heel. Braun Strowman went bald and turned heel. So the Fiend never forgets. And we look, it happens, I mean, why do you think he's feuding with Orton? Because of what Orton did to Randy, how Orton manipulated him and, took the WWE Championship away from him, and in the process, burning down the house and burning Sister Abigail down, someone that has meant a lot to Bray. So that, in my opinion, is what the Bray Wyatt character has been about, getting revenge on people who has done him wrong. That's why, it made sense if he was to attack The Undertaker, because Bray Wyatt wanted to be that new face of fear, but The Undertaker defeated him at WrestleMania 31. I think the first big mistake that the WWE did with The Fiend wasn't him losing to Goldberg. Now, that was a big mistake, and I'll get to that in a minute, but I think the first big mistake that they did with The Fiend was putting him in a title match for the Universal Championship at Hell in a Cell. Now, I know everybody, because everyone, and I even knew this too, the moment that the rumors were starting to come out that The Fiend was going to face either Braun Strowman or Rollins for the Universal Championship at Hell in a Cell. And once it was confirmed, I knew that this was not a good idea, because now the WWE has backed themselves in a corner now. Because now you have Rollins, who is just starting his second reign, and now he's going to lose his championship again. But now you got The Fiend, who is this over-the-top, well, not over-the-top, but just one of the best things you have right now. And you're going to put the championship on him. And then what happened on that fateful night in famous Hell in a Cell? Rollins, he does what he does, and The Fiend he doesn't walk out as Universal Champion, and everyone gets pissed off. The arena is pissed off. Fans, the wrestling community is pissed off. And rightfully so. Even I was pissed off. I mean, I didn't make no video about it because, like I said, my YouTube channel didn't exist at the time period. Well, I didn't start making videos, but I was even outraged. Not only was I outraged, was how the match was, and that stupid red lighting that finally they don't do it anymore. But how they put the Fiend in that title shot. And then he wins it a month later, and I'm like, okay, well, looks like the Fiend's gonna have now a yearly title reign. But then what do? Many, many months later, he loses to Goldberg. He loses to a guy who, let's be real here, who was amazing back in the day, who looked like he can, let's be real, man. Goldberg was huge back in the day, but Goldberg now is, come on. I'm not gonna get into the details of, come on, that was stupid. Having the Fiend lose. So basically what I'm saying is, well, I'm gonna get to more. And then the Fiend wins the championship again at SummerSlam against Strowman. He has this little feud with Strowman, obviously, and then he beats Strowman at SummerSlam, and then a week later at Payback, he loses the championship again. He becomes a transitional champion. So I think the Fiend, to sum this all up, the Fiend does not need championships because that is not the Fiend's character. The Fiend, in my opinion, looking at the Fiend, he's not about winning championships. He's about seeking, destroying, and having his opponent feel that pain and suffering. So, look at someone like The Undertaker. The Undertaker is not a 16-time world champion, okay? The Undertaker's, won the World Heavyweight Championship a few times in his life. Undertaker wasn't always in the title picture. But, even without the title pictures, The Undertaker didn't have to hold a championship and still be who he was. He was still the same old dead man. He was still the same old Undertaker that we all know and loved. And, The Undertaker didn't have to win multiple titles to prove to the whole world that he's one of the greatest of all time, because his own presence alone, his own gimmick alone, proves that he's one of the greatest of all time, proves that he's one of the greatest characters that's been ever created, ever. And The Fiend is someone who, like I said earlier, who has, I'm not saying he's The Undertaker, but has that sort of Undertaker appeal to him, to where he doesn't need a championship. Now, if it was if Bray Wyatt, because I think Bray Wyatt, obviously we all know how good Bray Wyatt could do with the gimmicks. So maybe if it was someone like his old Bray Wyatt, the Colt Bray Wyatt, which I think should have gotten a lengthy title reign, then yeah, cool. But The Fiend, he doesn't need championships. You know what I mean? He doesn't need the Universal title or the WWE Championship to make himself, to appeal himself. The Fiend should be about getting revenge on the people that did him wrong. That is what The Fiend. And then another problem with The Fiend is that they kept showing The Fiend every single week, and now The Fiend is coming out doing the same attacks over and over again, and it's gotten stale. It's gotten stale. I know with Aleister Black in NXT, in my opinion, Aleister Black was so good before he talked. They didn't show him on NXT TV every week, but when he showed up, he had that presence. The Fiend should not be showing up every single week, okay? He should be showing up once in a while. He shouldn't be wrestling on every single pay-per-view. He has that appeal. So the Fiend is basically what I'm trying to say is, and I know I'm going a little overboard, and I'm sorry about that, but the Fiend is a very special character. They, In my opinion, he doesn't need a championship. He just doesn't. Now, Bray can win it with another gimmick, and we all know how Bray, like I said, Bray is really good at repackaging himself and making his character go over. So if he creates another character, it's like Finn Balor the Demon, the alter ego. Finn Balor, when he does his own self, he's himself, but when it's time to use the demon, it's the demon. Same thing with Bray. He can go, maybe go back to being the cult leader, and when it's time to use the Fiend thing, he uses it. It can be like an alter ego. So that's just my thing, and that's just my opinion. And I know because a lot of people think, this Fiend should be, in my opinion, he's just, the Fiend, it's all about the character. The Fiend wants to get pain and wreak suffering on those who hurt him in the past. That's why he's been going after people like Randy Orton, Rollins, Finn Balor. That's why it was rumored he was going after Taker. Not for the titles, not for the championship, but to get revenge. I bet you if Eric Rowan and Luke Harper were still in the company, he would be going after them next, probably. Because they ditched him and left him for the Wyatt family. So that's my thing, everybody. So let me know in the comment section. Do you think the Fiend should go after championships or, whatever? Oh, and another thing, if you haven't seen my last video, which was about the Dark Side of the Ring New Jack documentary, my thoughts on it, go see that as well. This big boy DC Wrestling. I'll see y'all later.